Welcome back to the Rebel's Edge. Pete Najarian and I will be bringing you the 411 on what's going on in the markets. And here's a hint: defense stocks. And maybe the 51st and 52nd states are part of that. We'll have all that information for you on today's Rebel's Edge.
We're having too much fun, man.
True.
That's what these markets are all about, though, right? I mean, you have a little fun in between.
This isn't a tan, folks. This is high blood pressure. From wondering what's going to happen next.
Yes.
I mean, because out of the blue, at 2 a.m, Trump can tweet out something, Pete, about, I've always kind of liked Greenland. And I'm thinking, since Denmark owns them, maybe I hook up Baron and the princess over there in Denmark, and we have a marriage made in heaven, and then we take it over. You know what I
mean? I'll tell you what, there's entertainment value that's unbelievable there. There's nothing like it.
Anybody that takes seriously what he says at 2 a.m, Pete,
other
than this, and we'll get to this. This is a teaser, folks, officially. But yesterday, Pete, he tweeted out, there's nobody better than John Harbaugh. I mean, they're idiots to get rid of this guy. Everybody wants this guy. The Harbaugh brothers are gold. We'll be talking about that.
Yeah, we got that coming up.
Well, let's open with macro, Pete, because we always do. But we don't waste your time with too much macro, folks. Well, on my side of it, I'm going to say silver. This has been so volatile. You'd think the Hunt brothers were back in here, Pete, because one day it's up 5%. The next day it's down 5%. Today is one of the latter. It's down. Mm-hmm. And social media is talking about upcoming various index rebalancing that happens at the end of January. And they're saying, that could affect both silver and gold. I guarantee if you push either of these precious metals down too much, Pete, people are going to be both hands. Mine. What do you got?
Well, and one last thing about your silver, we had a couple of unusual options in there today as well. Anyway, let's move on to something here. How about the fact, and I think this is a big deal, and I know we're going to touch on this, but these defense stocks, it absolutely, I think, from a macro perspective, John, that's as macro as it gets, for crying out loud. We're talking about the entire world, and we're talking about Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman and L3 Harris and General Dynamics, all of them really kind of just elevating the markets, at least from some of the selling that we were seeing in other spots. So interesting to see that. Technology was down about 1.5% earlier in the day, and meanwhile, you take a look over at what's going on with the defense stocks, up. I mean, that's been something that I think really stands out today.
Well, what with all that defense stock buying, what is going on with the VIX? Are people nervous because defense stocks are rocking? Mm-hmm. And maybe they're rocking because people think the president could make a move on Greenland or something? Yeah. Or is the volatility moving lower, Pete?
Well, that's a great question, because the first hour of the trading day, give or take, volatility was starting to creep back up again, right? We got up there towards 16, not quite 16, but very close to 16. That is basically is giving us the idea that it could be a 1% move from the S&P on a daily basis. Well, it's been kind of in a tighter movement than that, John, and then it started to come right back down. Got up there towards call it 1575. Next thing you know, it starts pulling right back again as well. So interesting to see that. It just shows you how quick this market actually can digest what's going on, whether it's down there in Venezuela, up there in Greenland, or something within the entire world of these defense stocks. It's incredible how fast this market is really shifting around on a day in and day out basis, but within a range, a tight range.
Yep, very tight range. Basically 13.5 to maybe 15.5, 16. Yeah. But that is a tight range, and it's not doing that range every day, folks. The real volatility right now, how much the market has really moved, is under 10. So the VIX at 15.25, like Pete said, is that high or is it low? It's a lot higher than the real volatility. So in other words, there is some anticipation priced into that. It's not just what's really happening. All right, Pete, what about the third largest company in the world by the end of January? Right now, the betting on Poly market is that the third largest company is going to be Apple by the end of January. So here we are on the 8th. So call it 23 days out. Apple will be the third largest company on earth. Then you see on there Alphabet, Microsoft, Amazon. So Apple's far and away the leader, and it crossed just in the last 24 hours, really, Pete. Apple boomed above Alphabet, or the formerly Google, for that position. Do you see anything special about this?
I'll tell you what, it's interesting to me, the fact that Apple, John, has kind of gone away a little bit, and then something like this happens, and you start to see where Apple is and what people's expectations are going to be. I think that's the most interesting part for me, is just looking at Apple and people. It's almost like at times it almost gets forgotten, right? I mean, because we focus on NVIDIA, or we focus on Google, or we focus on whatever that might be. And then you start losing track with Apple. By the way, pretty interesting deal that they did the other day, John, just yesterday, with JP Morgan taking over on the credit card side of things from Goldman Sachs. And some of the losses that were listed there are absolutely outrageous, by the way. So they're gonna have to get some work done to get this thing working in the right direction, I think, into the future.
Yeah. Goldman has tried to get into the consumer space a couple times, Pete, but their history of just being the hoi polloi, in other words, just the very, very wealthy, has worked against them pretty solidly. And thus they haven't been able to really connect with the public, even through something that's as widely held as iPhones, iPads, and Macs. But doesn't mean that JP Morgan can't do it. So we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
Well, what else you got, Pete?
Well, we've got a big deal going on tonight, John. There it is, the battle plan. And everybody, we're giving everybody this for free. This could be a pay-per-view, and it, a lot of people would say it should be. But the reality is, this opens up to see what's going on, what the thoughts are of all of us here. And basically, the entire company, practically, it feels like, John, is a part of this whole thing. And some of the thoughts and the ideas and where the market looks like it's going to be going, I think it's going to be something that if you register, and you should do it, you should register now to be able to get this, because even if you're not able to see it live, you will be able to see that because it'll be sent to you if you register now. So I think it's a great opportunity for people to see what it is that we are seeing in the markets. And oftentimes, when you talk about the options markets, that's something that really does give you some hints on to where the markets, where people are leaning and where they think the direction is going to go next. And we see that time and time again. And I just was talking with you about that, John, when we talked about silver. Silver's going down today, right? Well, all of a sudden we see two separate hits of people coming in saying, let's buy the SLV because we kind of like it at these levels. It's that kind of thing. And that's where the options world, I think, really does shine. And that's where we're looking forward to today, right at the market close, 4 p.m. Eastern time.
That's right, folks. 4 p.m. Eastern. Just grab your phone, scan the QR code on the screen, and it'll take you right there to be registered. When you do register, by the way, you'll see the only thing we want is your name, and then you just have to give us your email address so we can send you a link. There is no credit card. There's nothing else that, all of a sudden it's going to start charging me. Nope, none of that. So you've got no excuse to not hear what our battle plan is for this, the first quarter. And obviously the first days of 2026 have already been pretty interesting. So if you want to know what our outlook is for the quarter, well, I'd say you should sign up and then join us either live, or even if you don't join us live, we'll still send you a copy of the entire recorded event. So thank you, Pete. All right. One of the stocks that I'm going to talk about tonight, I'll preview it, Pete, is ARCAT. And ARCAT is a Puerto Rico-based company. I know Jeff Thompson, folks. Jeff is a friend, and this guy is a genius with drones. He might have the best drone pilots on earth, because he can fly those drones through anything, Pete, and they're modular. So, for instance, if a drone was out in the field for the military and all of a sudden one of its rotors got clipped, you can pull that off, stick a new rotor on it, throw it back up, and you're back in business, with a field of view for what's on the battlefield. So, RCAT, unusual activity, yes, we've had it. We've had it in a bunch of defense stocks, folks, but look at this one. Just 2 days ago, the 6th of January, they were buying the January 11 calls. They expire tomorrow. Well, they paid 16 cents. So how do you do, Pete, if they go from 16 cents to $1.77 today? Because they did, and even higher. Well, that's like taking a 10 lot would be $160, folks, and it turned into $1,700. So that's why you trade options. And this is just one of the many stocks that we'll cover tonight, folks. You want to know the rest of them, you got to go back and scan that QR code and join us. What do you have to say about defense stocks today, Pete?
Well, and you limit your risk, and that's what the options world does. If you know what you're doing, if you get educated and you understand what you're doing, buying and selling and all the rest of it, putting on spreads, there's so many different ways that you can do things, John. But yeah, I mean, that's a great example of what things happen and how that can happen. By the way, this RCAT, it's at the highest levels that it's been since about mid-October. And oh, by the way, it's got a 5-year return of 323%. Now, I know it's 5 years, but nonetheless, it just does give you a great idea of how wild this really has become. And the fact that, you know, obviously President Trump has been very, very aggressive about the defensive spending. $1.5 trillion is a proposal that he's got out there. That seems to be doing pretty well, it seems, for not only Red Cat, John, but Kratos and L3 Harris and Aero Veriment. I mean, all these various companies that we talk about day in and day out. That's why the defense stocks are really kind of humming along, I think, John, is they're seeing what the direction is that the president wants in terms of spend, and he expects this to be a pretty high spend.
Yep. And Pete, it hit a high today of $12.72. So yeah, this is, and there are so many of those defense stocks that we're going to cover tonight, folks, but it's not just about defense, because their focus right now, I get it, and we all know why, but there are other stocks as well in the industrial space and so forth. And we're going to cover those and some space related stocks. It's going to be a great webinar, folks, and it's fast moving and obviously something you can react to in trading the very next day. All right, Pete, speaking of fast moving,
this one,
what about Regenesil Bioscience? Now, they call this bioscience, Pete. I'm surprised they even get away with that, because what it is, folks, is it's a Chinese herbal remedies and things like that. Not just herbal, but that's among the things that they do. And they can treat ADHD and autism and all that kind of stuff. Whether you want to believe that all of that is real science or not, the stock's $21 billion. So that's real. And today it went from a close last night, Pete, this one did, in the 30s, and sprung all the way up to 68. It opened at 62, went to 68, fell all the way back down to 34 before rebounding back up to whatever it was, Pete, 44 when we looked at it just before we went on air. Yeah. Amazing. That's volatility, folks.
If you take your eye off of this one, John, it could move $10. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not so sure that people have to be really careful if they're taking a look at this one. And all you got to do is take a look at the charts, you know, not only longer term, but very short term, and just the jumping in and out and everywhere. I mean, this is traditional Chinese medicines, as you said, John, which I don't even know what that necessarily would mean. I kind of do. But it's not like they have a pipeline that's having to get approvals and all the rest of that. This is totally different. The volumes are absolutely exploding in this particular name. They also had that split 38-1 just last year. So there's a lot going on here. I'll tell you what, it's a wild ride. It's probably fun to watch, to look at. I don't know that I think this is something that people ought to be involved with, because the volatility of this, and we talk about VIX, which is the volatility of the S&P 500, this volatility is just absolutely outrageous. I mean, when you have a day where you've gone from $34 to $69 in the same day, and back in July you were up in the 83s, this is a stock that's going to be all over the place. And that sounds great unless you're on the wrong side of it. Then it don't sound so great at all. So as I look at this one, it's fun to talk about, but I'm pretty much going to go, unless I see some options that put me in there, John. But otherwise, for me, this is a fun one to talk about. I'm not so sure that you want to be in this one, because it could either be a phenomenal winner or a really bad loser if you're in the stock.
Well, and let me help you out with that one, Pete. You're exactly right, of course, that this thing is pretty crazy. But this particular volatility of this one is in the triple digits routinely. I mean, routinely, it's between 300 and 400 vol. To give you an idea, folks, when Pete quoted the S&P, again, that's implied vol as well, but the implied vol of the S&P was 15 and a quarter or something. So this is 30 times that. You better be somebody who trades with a helmet on if you're trading this thing, or make sure, for God's sake, that you're in the options and not the stock, because, to go from 68 to 34 back up to 44, that's probably a little more volatility than most folks can stand.
That's all in the same day. That's all in the same day, and we're only a few hours into the day.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, let's look at NEOG, Pete, because this one's doing a lot of things right, apparently, because NEOG is higher by 30%. They're food and animal safety. That's what they do. But they basically raised full year guidance, and that's nearly always a good thing. NEOG responded by jumping dramatically to the upside and still holding on to a 30% gain on the day, Pete. And the volatility of these options is likewise in the 400% range. So again, even though Pete and I always preach about you have to understand options and you can take the risk down with them, when stuff's at 400%, I'm always doing a spread. For every option I buy, I'm selling one so that I can address some of that, both time decay and the volatility, because this is crazy town, Pete.
It is, and the stock is up 32%. I was just taking a quick peek as you were talking, John. By the way, better than expecting on the earnings, better than expected on the revenue. They raised their full year outlook. The revenue now is $850 million. They've got net income that's dropped about 7% because of lower operating income. This was a pretty daggone good report. You look across the board and you see that you had a great quarter, but you also have a great outlook. And because of that, that's why this stock is reacting the way it is today. Now, do you chase it? I'm not really a guy who's really excited about that, but I think this is one of those names where you probably want to at least keep it on your board somewhere, where every once in a while you're going to take a look and say, all right, well, these guys did pretty well last quarter, but it's pulled back a little bit. Maybe there's going to be some opportunities in there, and maybe we'll see some unusual option activity that comes in ahead of a move on the next run around.
Well, so that puts basically a cap on NEOG. How about Applied Digital Corp, Pete? APLD. This one's up 18%. It's doing that on pretty decent volume. Anytime you see a double-digit move in a stock, folks, chances are it's putting up more volume than it usually trades. And that is the case in this one as well. It's putting up volume of about 56 million shares, Pete, versus normal of 30 million. So in both cases, those are big numbers, but it's nearly doubled at mid-session, a full session's volume. So that speaks volumes, right?
Absolutely. When your revenue is up 250%, John, that's usually a pretty good indication that you're going to be doing. People are going to like what you're putting up there. I mean, high performance computing, they got strong demand for the data centers, the AI of the data centers and all the rest of it. Everywhere you looked on this one, you just say, you know what, that looks pretty good. Well, that's why it's up 15%. That's why it's up there towards $35 and $40 is its 52-week high, so it's not that far away. By the way, they have a goal, John, of 1 gigawatt of power by 2028. So, and that probably, if you would have said that a year ago, people would say, it's a little far-fetched. Not anymore. I think people are starting to see how aggressive that many of these companies are getting, and they're going to get to some of these levels. By the way, they expanded their leases to $16 billion. And by the way, taking off some of their cloud business as well, just spinning that out there because you know what? They'd rather focus on this. It's amazing what these guys have been able to accomplish in a fairly short period of time. And this is an absolute incredible quarter when you take a look at what some of these numbers look like. With revenue up triple digits, 250%, that's pretty amazing, John.
That's a reason to keep it on your radar for sure. Yep. Well, Pete, let's take a look at this little video that I shot you, which happens to feed into one of the topics Pete wanted to cover. We don't always do that ahead of time and say, oh, Pete, what are you going to cover? And then I say, oh, I'll find a video about this. This was just that good. And take a look, folks, and tell us what you think.
The Baltimore Ravens just made the biggest gamble in franchise history because after 18 seasons, the Ravens have fired John Harbaugh yesterday, the winningest coach in their franchise history. The man who has the most road playoff wins of any coach ever. Gone. Now, look, I get it. Sometimes things get stale. Sometimes an owner looks at 18 years and thinks it's time for a change. But I have a feeling the only team that is going to benefit from this change is the one that now hires him. Because you want to know if firing a coach was a mistake. It's a pretty simple process, Donnie. Don't listen to the fans.
Donnie.
Listen to the free market. Because the market never lies on the value of a head coach. Check this out. Because within 45 minutes of that news breaking yesterday, John Harbaugh's agent had 7 teams call him inquiring about his interviewing possibilities. There are currently only 7 head coaching vacancies in the NFL, and one of them is the Ravens. That means a team that currently has a head coach actually picked up the phone and said, hey, if we can get Harbaugh, we'll fire our guy right now. That's called respect, Donnie. That is the league telling you that you might have just messed up because no other fired coach is getting that treatment. The Baltimore.
Nope, nobody else, Pete.
Nobody. I'll tell you what, those two brothers, first of all, are amazing. Jim Harbaugh has had nothing but incredible amounts of success anywhere that he's ever been, John, from the University of San Diego to Stanford to Michigan to the 49ers, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the guy's been everywhere, right? And he's had success just about every single place, not just about every place that he's been, he's had amazing success. And then all of a sudden you got John Harbaugh, who's been in one spot for 18 years. And you know what? Were they a kick away from him losing that job? I mean, was he going to lose the job, John, if that kick goes in against Pittsburgh? It's kind of crazy. And you just wonder, why did they want to shake it up? And I'll tell you, I agree wholeheartedly with just about every single thing that gentleman was talking about, John. And he was talking to Donnie. But you know what? There are some openings out there. I think it makes it a lot of fun. And, you know, Jim Harbaugh was pretty great in his press conference when he said, you know what? There's no better coach. There is no better coach in the NFL than John Harbaugh. He is the best. And, you know, of course they're brothers and whatever, but
he lost to him. He lost to his brother in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. How about that when you're two brothers and you're playing against each other in the Super Bowl? I mean, how special is that? But here's what I'm going to throw out to you, John. Where does Harbaugh go? What do you think fits best? So a lot of people, many are talking about the New York Giants. And they're just saying, hey, look, they got Justin Dart. That's great. They've got Abdul Carter. Fantastic. They've got Scatterbrook. I mean, he's kind of a crazy son of a gun and he got hurt and all the rest of it. But, you know, the kid is kind of one of these guys that I think the team just kind of wants to embrace because of his energy and all the craziness that comes out of him as the running back that he is. Hopefully he can get back there and everything. And he's a nut. But I've got one for you. How about this one? Well, actually, we'll go this way. Cleveland, Atlanta, the Raiders, all of those kind of fit Harbaugh. As a matter of fact, depending on how things go. Now, the Raiders, they really do need a lot, though. They've got to figure out who's going to be their quarterback. They have the first pick. Who do they take? We would imagine that we know the Heisman Trophy winner, but you never know because it's the Raiders. I mean, they could do absolutely anything. Atlanta is another one that's pretty damn interesting, depending on how you view their quarterback situation and their defense and everything else. Cleveland as well, as I said. But there's a little place that I played for a long time ago, John. I'll pull it out. There it is. There's my Buccaneer. It's around my neck every single day. Love it to death. I love that team. They haven't fired Todd Bowles. Supposedly he's coming back, but I say supposedly because if they thought that they could get Harbaugh, do you think they make that move? And that's where I kind of lean is if, now it's a big if, but if the Tampa's willing to take a little flyer out there and go for Harbaugh. You know what? Some guys have disagreed with me already on this, but I'll tell you what. I like Baker Mayfield and what he's turned into as a quarterback, so they've got that. They've got a lot of talent on defense, great players on offense as well. It's just not quite happened for Tampa. And you know what? I think it should, and that's probably what the ownership thinks. And is John Harbaugh the right guy? So I would lean towards that. I know people are saying Miami, because that coach is another one that they haven't figured out what kind of a guy he is. But where do you think that he ends up? What fits him best, John? Of all these, there's a lot of different. I mean, everybody wants him, but where should he go?
I think you're exactly right, Pete. Given that he's not a young man, he's not Saban's age. He's not, the coach, your old coach that ended up being only 1 year with the Raiders. He's not a 78-year-old guy. But does he want to do a rebuild, or does he want to take a team like Tampa that's on the trajectory to be a great team? I mean, Baker Mayfield's 30 years old, Pete. 30. I looked it up to make sure because I thought, God, he's been around a while. 30 years old. So do I like him better than Dart? Yeah, at this stage in his career, I do, because he's a leader, players love him, and he's a winner.
Yep.
So if I'm John Harbaugh, I would look really hard at any kind of consideration that Tampa might give me. I mean, here's a quarterback that threw for 3,600 yards in the regular season, Pete. Interceptions, what did he have? 10 interceptions out of all of those, 26 touchdowns or something like that. Again, the ratios are right, and that team can win. And you're in Florida, which doesn't hurt either. And I know that, you end up as a player, you pay based on the city that you're playing in, you have to pay taxes. It's known as the Jordan rule. I'm not sure that it's the same for coaches, Pete. So if it's not the same for coaches, he saves a bunch of money taking a Florida gig. And there's really only one Florida gig right now anyway. But the other one is Miami. And Pete, I would take either Tampa or Miami over the Giants if I'm Harbaugh. And he could turn either of those franchises into what has been done in Jacksonville, I think. And that guy is a miracle worker, but he's got Travis Hunter. He's got all these, Trevor Lawrence playing at a super high level and all that. So I like him, Pete.
And they got a defense, which, that's something that Harbaugh always had with the Ravens, John, until now. For whatever reason, over the last year or two, or maybe a little longer even than that, they aren't that dominant defense that they were. Their offense was great. They're putting up a lot of points. Lamar was fantastic, got a great running back, got some great receivers, offensive line, all of it. But the defensive side of the ball was lacking. And, they weren't that intimidating group that they always were. And I think that was the Achilles heel that they had, for me anyway, when I'd watched them, because they could play some ball and they had some great offense, but the defense just was not even close to what they used to be, which was the shutdown defense. I mean, that's what they did. And Ray Lewis and those guys probably were wondering, what in the hell happened to our defense, man? All right, John, playoff games. I thought we could just kind of rapid fire through this one. So we'll start with the Rams, Carolina. I think as much as I like Carolina and what they were able to accomplish to get to the playoffs, have a home game, I think the Rams are so damn good on offense and defense. I think the Rams and you know what Stafford can do, I think the Rams got them.
Rams by 14, Pete.
Wow.
All right. 2 touchdowns, I'm thinking. I was not that impressed, except with their run stopper at Carolina, that big dude in the middle. Yeah. I was not that impressed with that team necessarily. So I'm going to say you're right. I don't know if anybody really, until they get to the likes of Seattle, I don't think anybody really stops Stafford and the Rams.
Yeah, they're good. All right, Packers, Bears, right up your alley, man. Jordan Love and the Packers. When Jordan Love was the quarterback, they beat the Bears. When he wasn't the quarterback, the Bears beat the Packers. So I think Jordan Love's going to play, John. Does Green Bay beat him?
No. I think the Bears have such a chip on their shoulder here, Pete, from losing to San Francisco and looking bad doing it. The defense, that is, looked bad. Freaking Caleb looked fantastic.
Yep.
I mean, what did he put up? 40 some odd points against what was at one time a vaunted defense. A defense, by the way, that soon afterwards held Seattle to 13. But the offense at San Francisco, that was completely different against San Francisco. And the Bears defense just didn't even show up in this game, Pete. I mean, except for the first pick six, that was the only time they showed up. And they still could have won the game. But the defense has got to play Bear football for them to beat Green Bay, or Square Bush, as a lot of the people in Chicago like to call Green Bay. They call them Square Bush. Some of you know why. But I like them, Pete. I like the Bears.
Yeah. All right. Buffalo at Jacksonville. Now, here's what I like about Jacksonville this year. Great defense. Really, really high-end defense. And Trevor Lawrence and ETN as a group, by the way, they played together when they were at Clemson. Did pretty well. They're playing together now. ETN's been healthy, blah, blah, blah. I think Trevor's finally got everything pieced together. They got a new coach and everything this past year. And here they are going to be hosting against Buffalo. I think Jacksonville takes them.
Yeah, here's where I'm going to go against some of my own judgments, Pete, because I don't like judging a team based on how they've done for the whole season, because the last few weeks are really what matters. Even if you're getting into the playoffs as a division champ instead of a wild card, it still matters. How are you playing into those final few weeks? And I did not like at all how the Bills looked against the Eagles. They should have been able to take the Eagles down. They didn't. And I'm going to say it's all about basically looking here at the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, can they score? Yes. But Jacksonville can score more. And that Buffalo Bills defense did not impress me. So I'm taking Jacksonville, Pete, by probably a field goal, 3 points.
I like it. I like that one a lot, and I'm so excited for my guy who owns that team. He's really excited. By the way, you see his. I shouldn't call it a boat. You see his latest thing. Oh my goodness, that is unbelievable, unbelievable. It's only $300 million or whatever the hell it is. All right, John. San Francisco at Philly. Now this happened once before, and that was when San Francisco ran out of quarterbacks and all the rest of it. But this time, the problem for me is San Francisco's defense. They got 7 guys on IR from their defense. They are missing, it seems like, basically everybody. It's not, but it feels that way. And Philly hasn't played great, but Philly's a damn good team, and they're playing at home. I think San Francisco's got a problem with the defense, and because of that, I'm going to take Philly.
Philly by 5, Pete.
All right, Chargers, New England. It's the one place the Chargers probably wouldn't want to go, and here's why. First of all, you're down in L.A. You got to travel the entire country to get to New England. That's a pain in the rear end. You're going up against a guy who suddenly just has become everybody's favorite quarterback, and you know what? Is he up for the MVP? He deserves it. He's certainly one of those guys who's up for it. So I don't know. They've got a top offense for scoring, and it looks to me like New England at home. As much as I'd like to see the Chargers do it, I don't think it's going to happen. I think New England wins.
New England wins too, Pete. And I think Jim Harbaugh, the other Harbaugh, has done a great job with Justin Herbert and so forth, Pete, and the team in general. But you know what I'm going to say. Alt, if he was healthy, I'd say they beat him. But their big all-pro offensive tackle has been plagued with injuries. And that poor kid, even though he's only, what, Pete, 23, 24 years old, something like that. I don't think he's 25 yet even. That kid, if he could play at his normal level, I would take them. But he's not able to play at that level, so I'm going to take New England.
A lot of injuries on that offensive line this year. Last one, Houston at Pittsburgh.
Monday night.
Houston's defense, John, first of all, they got 9 straight wins. That's not so bad. It seems like Houston's on a pretty good roll, looking at everything. By the way, Houston, number 1 in yards allowed, number 2 in points given up, and turnover differential of 17. I think Houston looks pretty damn good. I like what's happened this year with Pittsburgh, obviously, and it's cool to see how that's all run through this whole thing. But I don't know. I think Houston's on an absolute roll, and I think with that roll, I think they go up and take care of business against Pittsburgh. How about you?
I think they should. The wild card is, of course, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Because Aaron elevates his game, as he did last week, Pete, to get him into the position to win. And then, of course, it was the missed field goal that let them win. But, yeah, I think that Houston should win. Because, again, the Ravens, Lamar Jackson had almost a career game, especially coming back with just seconds to play to bring them down into position to kick that winning field goal that missed wide right immediately. So that poor kid, he's got Harbaugh's blood on his hands, Pete. The kicker does. Because if they win, Harbaugh doesn't get fired. Could he have gotten fired this week? After that, yeah, he could have, but that's not what happened. So I'm going to say that Houston should win. And it's just going to be down to whether or not the best Pittsburgh defense shows up, because I know Aaron Rodgers is going to show up.
Tell you who else shows up, John, and the Vikings got rid of him because, of course, the back office there really understands their talent levels. Danielle Hunter. Everybody, you know what? All the guy does is lead every single year in sacks or somewhere very close. He's got another 15 sacks this year, John. He's number 3. So I don't know. All you do is look at a guy who's completely chiseled. Which means he's in the gym, he's working hard, he's trying to be the best player he can be, and he is. Some people knock him and they say, well, he doesn't play every play. Well, that's true of a lot of players, quite frankly. But this guy, when the game is on, this guy gets sacks and he gets to the quarterback, and he is an absolute freak show. So, I believe in this guy in a big way. And I'll tell you what, I don't think if I'm a quarterback for any of the teams they play and they get through these playoffs, I think Danielle Hunter is somebody who scares the crap out of these quarterbacks. And I like Houston, so I think Houston takes them.
Like I say, I'm with you. The wild card it really is Aaron Rodgers, or does TJ Watt get a strip sack or 2? Yeah. Because he's more than capable. And he was one of the only guys on that defense that I saw playing at a high level last week, Pete. So, again, those 2 players, TJ Watt and Aaron Rodgers, could make the difference in this one. Otherwise, it's Houston.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right. Good stuff, man.
Well, folks, we appreciate you joining us. I hope you sign up for that webinar because tonight at 4:00 Eastern, we're going to be doing it live. And if you can't make it, but you sign up, you can still get a copy of the entire webinar, all 50 minutes or hour of the webinar, every stock that we cover and so forth. I think it's worth your time to see it, whether it's live or whether it's recorded. And Pete and I will be back live Monday at 1:00 Eastern Time. See you then.